Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. We're going to be talking about building B2B portals for the future. I'm very excited to have Pat West from Apex Leaders, as well as Ryan Francis from LaunchPad Lab, who are going to walk us through the use case and success that they've seen by working together as when leveraging Heroku as their main technology. If you go to the next slide, just a note, please make sure that you're basing all purchasing decisions based on the products and services that are available today, not necessarily what we're projecting in the future. And with that, I'd like to pass it over to Ryan, who's going to kick off the presentation.
Sounds good. Thank you. Yeah. So just to introduce myself, my name is Ryan Francis. Oh, looks like my camera just cut out. So let me try to get that going again. And I think Pat, yours did as well. So I might have to click the button down there. But yeah, my name is Ryan Francis. I'm the CEO at LaunchPad Lab. LaunchPad is well, I'll talk a little bit more about LaunchPad on the next slide here, but we have the unique opportunity to, or you can just jump ahead to, yeah, about LaunchPad Lab, that'd be fine. So we have the unique opportunity to work with Apex leaders and really help them to bring this B2B portal that we're going to talk about today to market. We are based in Chicago. We primarily work with non-tech businesses that are looking to build technology. So we sort of serve as an outsourced tech shop for sort of traditional non-tech businesses. We specialize in fairly complex software projects. So typically the harder the better for my team. And really we accomplish these projects by leveraging small cross-functional in-house teams of what we call product builders. So everybody on our team is really contributing to the vision of the product and bringing things to life. One, I guess, side note is that we've been Heroku partners for a long time now and have built over 200 applications on Heroku since the inception of our company 7 years ago. So needless to say, we're very big fans of Heroku and the platform and what that can really do for companies and how that's really beneficial, especially for Salesforce customers who are looking to integrate data to and from Salesforce. So looking forward to talking more about this success story with Pat. You know, I really want to start by saying thank you to Pat for sharing his time with us today. I think this is a really intriguing and powerful story about what's possible with technology, you know, for non-tech businesses. And I think Apex Leader's story here is really a great one. So thank you for your time today, Pat, and sharing this with everyone. And hopefully people will find this valuable.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan, and apologies everybody for the lack of webcam. I have to exit the presentation every time, and I think that will get annoying. So you'll just have to hear my glorious voice for an hour. Yeah, you know, as introduction, name is Pat West, Vice President here with Apex Leaders, and frankly, just kind of found myself in the seat of running technology for the company, and that means anything from IT to kind of product development from a tech standpoint and figuring out how to make it work. You know, as you can see here, we are not a tech firm. We are a services firm, and I can talk about that. And so we try to leverage you know, resources like Ryan and his team who can kind of bridge that gap between not knowing anything from our side, but having a set of business demands that need to be met, and they can figure out how to do it and understand where we're coming from. So as background, Apex Leaders, we are a service provider to leverage buyout private equity clients around the country. And so essentially what we are doing is as our clients are looking to maybe understand different industries that they want to invest in, or maybe specific companies in which they're looking to invest part of their funds, what we do is we go out and we find, frankly, the best people around the country to try to fill those knowledge gaps. So if you're buying a water bottle company, you know, we can go out and find the former, you know, CEO of Contigo, or of Yeti coolers, or whatever it may be, in order to help our clients understand those markets and make a better buying decision. And so we're really in the business of finding the best people and then facilitating the interaction between them and our client with the hope that they'll make better decisions. So we've been doing this since about 2009. We started in the Bay Area, moved out to Boise, Idaho in 2012, and I've been on the Salesforce platform, frankly, since since we started in 2009. So we're going to go through a little bit of, I just think, the background of what we were trying to do, why we were trying to do it, and how we made the decisions to kind of approach it and frankly, the way that we did. So we do have some screenshots here, as you can see, but we're actually going to go through a live demo in a little bit that'll look more engaging than this. So we'll move on from that. As background, I had been in charge of trying to develop a customer portal for probably almost 3 years, with 2 failed attempts and then this final last, I would say, great success. And so that's kind of the story we wanted to walk everybody through. Is, the rationale behind what we wanted to do is we partner our clients, right, with advisors from around the country. And one of our biggest differentiators in the market is that we do not hold that relationship ourselves. So what we do is we facilitate the first interaction between, an advisor and our client, and then we say, frankly, this person is yours, and you should feel free to make them a friend of your firm and develop that relationship. But we didn't have any way to reinforce that through technology. And so what we wanted to do was say, okay, how can we leverage technology, our Salesforce platform, and what we do every day to kind of reinforce that differentiation? As well as there were some serious inefficiencies in our operational process that we were hoping that the portal could take care of. That, and it's now 2019. At the time, I think when we started in 2017, or maybe early 2018 with Ryan's group, it's kind of an expectation that you have sort of an automated platform or way to engage with your clients. So for us, we always use the power of and. We're always happy to have that white glove service, but for those of our clients who choose to interact with us on a tech platform, we wanted to enable that. And frankly, we are a fairly premium brand in the market. And so to not have this offering, I think, was a disservice and disappointing to clients. We also wanted to build something that was scalable, not only as we continue to grow users, but scalable from a feature standpoint. And so with our first iteration, we actually tried to use the Salesforce community templates and found that we could not declaratively customize them enough to give the look and feel that we felt our clientele needed. And so we pulled the plug on that endeavor because the partners that we were working with in that instance really were only going to do declarative editing for us, and it wasn't going to get us to where we need. We had another misstep in the middle that I won't go into, but on our third attempt, we really tried to think through, okay, how do we choose a platform that's going to allow us to grow? And that's frankly why we decided to go with the Heroku platform, was because given the amount of customization that we need, as well as the amount of users, it made a lot more sense to use Heroku to connect to Salesforce than to try to fully customize and bake out our own community. So what did we end up with? And we'll show you this obviously in a live demo. From an internal efficiency standpoint, I can just walk you through our traditional way of scheduling an advisor. So let's say we found an individual that was going to work with our client and we were excited about it. We would send the advisor an email and say, what's your availability? We'd send that availability over to our client, and maybe they would say, oh, that works for me, or actually those times don't work. And if they didn't work, then we would email back to the advisor and ask them, do these times work, and then facilitate from there. And then we would have to make I think we were using WebEx at that time to schedule the call, and then we would send an email introduction and then a separate calendar invite. And if you're talking about low value add as far as efficiency goes, all of that work is it's important, but it should be able to be automated. And so Ryan and his team figured out a way that we'll walk you through to kind of facilitate that interaction and make it fairly frictionless and kind of put the onus a little bit more on the advisor side versus the client side. We also wanted to expose our client's network, as we talked about. What we're doing as a company is not trying to build our own network and sell it 500 ways. It's trying to build the resources for our clients. And we wanted to expose them to that network. So previously they would have to email us and ask us, who's that person that we talked to 3 weeks ago? What is his or her phone number and email? And now we're showing them, and now we're letting them self-serve. And so it's cutting down on the amount of time that we have to serve, and it's reinforcing the value that we are providing to the client. Obviously, the Heroku Connect to sync data to and from Salesforce, we are completely invested in the Salesforce platform as far as, from our sales side. But this part of what we're talking about today is more of the custom objects that we have developed on the operational side. And so for my team to be able to go into Salesforce, make an edit, and then in real time, our client can just refresh the page and we're showing the same data is invaluable. And that also obviously works the other way, right? So they can actually go in, and we'll show this later, create a new project with Apex leaders that will populate a new record in Salesforce, which kicks off flows and alerts my entire team to what's going on. So from a data standpoint, we don't have to wait. It's instant, and I haven't seen any hiccups with the syncing and how all that works. And then I would just say lastly, as my story kind of illustrates, we had a little bit of a rough time developing this portal with the previous 2 attempts. And so we set up the development in a very waterfall type of approach, at least initially, to ensure success. Not that I don't trust Ryan and his team, they're amazing, but we had been burned twice. And so we kind of set it up in a series of gates to say, okay, if you can get this minimum functionality, then we'll proceed to the next point and the next point. We didn't want to sign a giant contract and be disappointed again. And I felt as a more traditional service-based firm, that worked well for us. And since the trust has been built and the results have been delivered, we've been able to move much more to an agile approach where we can get feedback from our clients, say we need a feature, add it to the backlog, and now we're moving faster and quicker than we used to. So that was kind of what we came up with. I'll let Ryan talk a little bit just about the architecture and how that backed up what we were doing.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, thanks, Pat. And when I got brought into this problem with Pat, he really gave me the perspective of how the last 2 attempts had failed, and in knowing sort of what the problems that he ran into with, especially the customizability, it was pretty clear that what Apex Leaders was really trying to do was to build something that was very unique to their business and had really the ideal user experience for their clients. He mentioned that they offer that white glove experience for their clients. And so to bring that white glove experience into a digital format, it's really important that we can really create exactly what needs to be created and own the code that's going into that. And so when we came up with the technical architecture recommendation for Apex Leaders, it was pretty obvious that we wanted to build using the latest open source technologies so that we could really write in code as opposed to doing something declarative like what Pat had talked about. And so, of course, from there, Heroku is a wonderful platform for writing code onto. And like I mentioned, my team has a ton of experience with Heroku. So naturally, we look to Heroku. The really big benefit here is that since Apex Leaders is doing so much on Salesforce, we can get syncing set up really fast using Heroku Connect. So we were able to have essentially expose any objects that are in Salesforce to the portal that we're building in Heroku seamlessly, and you almost get there's a lot of functionality that you get out of the box just by getting that syncing with Heroku Connect. So that's why we really recommended using Postgres so that we could have that syncing layer set up with Heroku Connect. And then given that a lot of the functionality that was being envisioned for the portal was really around scheduling, we knew we needed a JavaScript library on the front end to make that experience very slick and feel very responsive to the user's actions. And so React is a really powerful front-end library to write that JavaScript in. So that's how we came up with this technical architecture. And beyond just the architecture approach, just to comment on what Pat said earlier about that sort of gated delivery approach. I think it's a really great way to approach custom software. I've seen all too often in this industry, companies go into large projects and sort of hope that after 6 months they're going to have what they're looking for. But really, the best thing to do in custom software is to start small. So even though you might have a big idea, start small with that idea and deliver incrementally. And that's how you can really reduce the risk and ensure that projects get delivered, on time and on the budget that was originally agreed upon. So anyway, that I think that really summarizes, the technical architecture piece here, Pat.
Yeah, just to back up what Ryan was saying, I think honestly, I can't remember the exact first deliverable that we set out for Ryan's team, but I think it was, can you develop we were trying to frankly test them in two ways. One was on the UI side and one was obviously on the functionality side. And so I think first was, can you find us a way to sign people into a website with Salesforce data and make it look good? And so we set the stake, the bar. There was a lot that went behind it, but the objective was pretty simple. And then after, and you'll see in just a moment, but after that we started adding lots and lots of functionality, and I think we ended up kind of breaking this into 3 distinct sections of features. And frankly, we didn't even release the portal until we were done with the 3rd section. So we had a very high bar for what we were going to release to our clients, but we gated it on Ryan's and his team side to make sure that the progress was good and we were getting the product, that we wanted. So just some quick results, because everybody likes numbers. So Ryan, I don't remember actually what was the date that we started working on the portal build in 2018. But we did go ahead and we launched in March of 2019. So just a couple of months ago here, right? But 85% of our new projects, our new engagements, are now booked and submitted through the portal. I'll show you how that works. But before we were just using kind of URL-based forms, and so now they have a nice system to log in, and 85% are doing so. 95% of all of the calls that occur through our company run through the portal, which, if you think from an efficiency standpoint about the kind of the story that I shared about the back and forth, to have 95% of that occurring through our portal within, I don't know how many months that is, 6 months, is pretty phenomenal to us, right? And so we're pretty excited to have that efficiency. Obviously, given that time, project leads can now focus on higher value work, handle more volume. It reinforced our brand as a premium provider committed to spending money to make our clients' lives easier. And we've gotten countless comments about how simple it is, how easy it is, and thankful that it exists. And then it's also given us really good access, I think, to work with our clients. And what I mean by that is we are now pinging them probably on a quarterly basis saying, hey, what bugs you about our portal and what would you love to see? And so we constantly kind of have a refresh of our backlog, and it's allowed us to create a very different dialogue with our clients other than, hey, how was that advisor? How was that call? How was that project? It's really, give us your opinion. And then, frankly, given Ryan and his team and how we work in an agile method, we can turn those requests around very quickly. And from a customer experience and customer satisfaction standpoint, to be able to ask for opinions and then deliver, and our client can physically see the change within a couple of weeks, is really empowering and endearing from our clients to us, which has been outstanding. So those are kind of the high level results of what we've seen thus far with the portal. I'm going to hop out of the presentation for just a moment and share a little of the portal itself. So this is all kind of made up data. It's actually used by our sales team now when they go on sales calls and meetings to show, because it is that impactful and it is that differentiated in our industry, to show people this. It makes us unique. And so I'm just showing you kind of right now, this is where you splash into if you log in as a client. There are 2 distinct sides to our portal. One is for the clients, our internal clients, and one is for the advisors. And so, as some quick background, when you as an advisor might log into our portal, you're being asked to, one, register and give us your information as far as just who you are, your email, kind of that basic info. You're also signing, frankly, an NDA because we deal with lots of confidential information. And then the last piece is to enter your availability to have conversations. And this is what kind of facilitates that efficiency gain on our side from a scheduling standpoint. So I'm just going to go into a project here. It's called Dog Fitness. And what you can see here are fields direct from Salesforce. So Amy Nichols, this is actually a junction object between the engagements and our contacts. And so Amy's showing up here. All the information on the right side is directly pulled from the engagement from Salesforce. And then from a scheduling standpoint, I'm just going to click on Jim here. So if you were a client and you decided that you wanted to speak directly to Jim, you can go ahead and go on, click schedule. It'll bring up Jim's availability that he had to enter when he registered with Apex. Click the day, click the time, and if I did click this confirm button, emails would immediately be shot out. We have an integration with, I believe it's WebEx, to schedule that meeting, send calendar invites, and the whole thing is done. So what used to take us, 20, 25 minutes per person scheduled, now takes our client 2 to 3 minutes at most. So there are some good efficiency gains there. Also, our clients, obviously, as I mentioned, it's both read and it's write using Heroku. So, if you wanted to request a project change, you could enter in whatever you wanted, submit that, and fields would update within Salesforce, and my project leads internally would be notified of that change and what our client wants to do. That's kind of the main functionality on the engagement itself. We do ask for feedback. That's captured in Salesforce and then kind of rebroadcasted here. So you can see we have a 5-star rating system. And so our clients have a historical record of the advisors that they talk to. And then just lastly, quickly, is kind of that network we were talking about. So as a historical record, our clients can come in at any point and see the advisors that they have directly engaged with, their rating of those advisors, and if there are any notes on the advisors. So these are the notes that we send to our client, and these are the notes that the client sent back to us after having the call. So it serves as a place of record, and again, our differentiation is demonstrated here. So that was kind of all I wanted to go through on the demo, but you can see from just the screenshots and what you're viewing is that it's a pretty high quality product. I think it looks slick. It's very simple but effective and just what our client needed. And so from a kind of that white glove standpoint, we just wanted to make it easy to interact with Apex. We don't need to force people to go and go through a burdensome process. And what we've heard is that this is additive and not, it does not hurt the relationship with our client, having them do things kind of on an online portal versus picking up or sending us an email, which obviously they can still do. So with that, I'll hop back into the presentation unless there are anything else, I don't know, Ryan or Shalini, that you wanted me to show on the demo.
No, I think that's perfect.
Okay, awesome. And then just, quickly, as I mentioned, we really wanted a platform that we could easily build on, and Heroku and the way that Ryan and his team have set us up, it does make it pretty darn easy for that. So for us, we're looking at a couple of different things. One is, somewhat of advisor tagging, giving our clients a little bit more ownership over that network that we're giving them. And so how do we tag? How do we organize? How do we make it easier to search for advisors and interact with them? The second is that interaction piece where can we facilitate? We're really good right now, given our portal, at facilitating the first interaction, that first call, and making that go smoothly. But the second, third, fourth call, how can we help our clients to get more out of those calls using technology, using the portal? And then the last would be starting to use algorithms in conjunction with our portal to help recommend people, to help people who want to do a little bit more self-service in the portal. How can we help them do that? So that's kind of future development, which is also driven heavily by what our clients are interested in. And I think we're at kind of Q&A. I don't know if there's any any questions, anything we can explain from either the Ryan side on the technical side or my side from the business side.
Thank you, Ryan and Pat. So there's a few questions that came in. The first one is, what concerns did you have in building technology being a non-tech firm?
Yeah, I think that's my question. Yeah, so for us, there was obviously a number of questions. One is just managing technical resources, right? How do I know that I'm getting the most out of these resources, given that I don't really know, excuse me there, what I'm doing. And so that was, I think, put to rest really with the scoping calls and scoping conversations we had with Ryan. But obviously we had two very poor experiences prior to LaunchPad. And so we were pretty concerned. I think the first piece was the gating of the project and trying to build that trust over time. And then, frankly, the other half is, okay, well, we have this thing built. How is it going to be maintained? Who will be maintaining it? How can we, how much will I be doing personally, not really being a tech person, but being the point person at Apex? And what is Ryan and his team committing to, and what does that mean? And so we actually went through an interesting period where, as you can imagine, after launch time, where there were lots of kind of recommendations, bugs, issues coming in, and I believe Ryan can correct me, but we were sending over lots of requests constantly, and we were finding that the requests were pretty repetitive. It was the same thing: couldn't log in, couldn't do this, couldn't do that. And so we actually made a decision, LaunchPad and Apex together, to create an admin portal that allowed us here at Apex to really control more of those issues, because that was not worth LaunchPad Labs' time to deal with those, and we needed the immediate response and resolution of fairly simple issues. But without the admin portal, we wouldn't have been able to do it. So, to your question of what was our concerns, first it was, can this team deliver? And so the gating helped with that. And then second was, okay, how do we maintain this thing? And from a maintenance standpoint, what is LaunchPad going to be responsible for, and what is Apex going to be responsible for?
Wonderful.
Yeah, and a big part of that is, if you can, a big part of that decision to do the admin panel is, we always strive with our non-technical clients to give them as much self-service capability as possible in a point-and-click setting. Out of the box, Apex leaders had access to all this data in Salesforce. So by the very nature of having the syncing with Salesforce, they were able to self-service quite a bit just with that. But then to provide that additional layer of functionality around self-servicing some of those support requests was a really great decision to just empower their non-technical team to manage that technical environment. Sorry, Shalyn, you were saying something?
No, I was just gonna, for the next question, what does it take to keep this up and running?
Sure. Do you want to take that, Pat, or do you want me to?
Well, we probably both can. I think we addressed it just a little bit before. From a non-technical standpoint, honestly, not much. I'm a little bit shocked at how little that we have to do, and that goes to, one, I think the well thought out design. I think there was a lot of feedback initially as far as, hey, we're having issues here. Can we automate this? Can we set up workflows again to to the kind of syncing with Salesforce, we're able to automate a lot of this, and then it goes to that admin portal where we know we can hop in and deal with issues on the fly, so we don't have to always go to Ryan and his team, to kind of fix those issues. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I mean, I think honestly on a weekly basis, I probably spend maybe 2 hours just fielding questions from my team or dealing directly with our clients or advisors who are having issues that we frankly haven't seen. But it goes to, I think, being pretty disciplined about documenting the issues that you are having. If it's an issue that we can resolve, get it in the backlog and take care of it. And if it's something that we just need to kind of educate on, then take the time to educate the team internally here so I don't have to do it every single time. It's not, for us as a growing company, it's not going to be scalable if I have to go in and try to deal with every issue. So those ones that we can fix, we do, and if we can't fix it, then I train my team to deal with it themselves.
Wonderful. And just the last question for both of you. What have you learned through this process?
Ryan, I'll let you go first on that one.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think just seeing the adoption was really amazing. I mean, the numbers that Pat showed there is no easy feat. Getting clients who are used to a certain process to totally change and embrace a new way of doing things. I think it goes to show, in my mind, how even in a sort of traditional industry of private equity, people are starting to expect and want that self-service digital experience. I think that was my concern coming in, just with the outcomes that we were trying to achieve, was whether the clients would actually embrace this new technology and jump in and use it. And so just seeing those numbers is just an amazing result, and really exceeded my expectations, but certainly improved the value of building these types of portals and how it can really help a company like Apex get to the next level, both from a client satisfaction standpoint, but also from a scalability standpoint, now that they've really reduced their operational costs related to each client. So yeah, I think in general, I just was very pleasantly surprised by the adoption.
Yeah, I think we've heard, to piggyback on that some of our, frankly, competitors have tried a system like this and it has not worked. And so for us to see those numbers, is awesome. Is really exciting. But it also really validates the time we took to kind of get it right. And we did a bunch of user testing. And if you're going to deliver something, as long as the value is there for the client in the end, the adoption will come. And so for us, obviously, our first priority was to have our clients get value out of the system, and maybe we would get some internal efficiencies. So the value for them is, frankly, not having to email us, not having to go back and check times. It's the ability for them, while they're on an airplane, to submit a project, to select, review, reschedule, cancel advisors, do all of these different things. And because we built enough value into the system, I think we got the adoption that we did. That we have the efficiency is great, and I'm excited about that. But the first priority was, okay, make something that our clients really, really want to use. And so obviously they are doing that. I think the second thing we learned is that even though we are non-technical here, finding the right firm, obviously from our story, is challenging. But once you do, I think the results can speak for themselves, and so for us, it's kind of we can do it, and we're not afraid to do it again. And so for us, it was that gating piece, getting the pressuring. I think a lot of times some service providers feel like they have they kind of hold a lot of that power, and they can kind of deliver whatever they want and charge you. And I don't think Ryan and his team really took that approach. It was, we really got to demonstrate that we can just do the basics right, and then we earn the ability, frankly, to take on the rest of a much larger project, and that made us feel good. That made LaunchPad feel good, and thus the relationship has been great. So I think we just learned a little bit that, I think we learned we can do this. We now have the confidence to move forward and continue working on it.
Wonderful. Well, thank you both for your time today. This is an amazing use case, and I really appreciate you both sharing it with our audience. So, with that, I'd like to thank everybody for coming and have a wonderful afternoon.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Yep. Thanks.